For nearly 40 years, most people have believed they already know who the best character in Top Gun is. But after revisiting the movie, comparing decades of fan discussions, and looking at how these characters have aged over time, one opinion keeps changing. So, was Maverick really the greatest character in the film? Or do nearly 40 years of fan discussions point to a completely different answer? Ask 10 longtime Top Gun fans the same question, who the best character is, and don't be surprised if you hear 10 different answers. That's exactly why this ranking still sparks debates nearly 40 years later. It's remembered because of its characters: the fearless Maverick, the disciplined Iceman, the loyal Goose, the wise Viper. Nearly 40 years later, fans still can't agree on who was truly the best, because without them, the movie would have been nothing more than fast jets flying through beautiful skies. Every pilot represented something different. And that's exactly why fans still debate them today. Some characters appeared for only a few minutes, yet fans still talk about them 40 years later. Others had far more screen time, and somehow became easier to forget. That's why this ranking isn't based on who flies the fastest, or who gets the coolest scenes. Instead, we're judging every major character using the same standards: how well they're written, how much they change, how important they are to the story, how unforgettable they still feel today, and perhaps most importantly, how fans still talk about them after almost 4 decades. You might agree with every pick, you might completely disagree, but one thing is almost certain: by the end of this ranking, you'll probably see at least one character very differently. Rewatch Top Gun today, and Jester feels very different than he did in 1986. Here's why. Jester. Jester was never meant to steal the spotlight. He was meant to keep everyone else alive. He's memorable because of what he represents. His job is simple: catch dangerous mistakes before they become deadly. And that's exactly what he does. Almost every time Maverick crosses the line, Jester is there to remind him why discipline matters. He isn't trying to embarrass Maverick. He's trying to keep him alive. It's not the flashiest role, but it might be the most realistic one in the entire movie. But here's the problem. Outside of training exercises, Jester almost disappears. He doesn't receive meaningful development. He doesn't experience an emotional journey. And unlike Viper, he never becomes a mentor the audience connects with. Instead, he mainly serves as a narrative obstacle, someone standing between Maverick and graduation. That's not bad writing. It's simply limited writing. Ironically, many real military pilots appreciate Jester more today than casual movie fans do. His professionalism feels authentic. His criticism usually turns out to be correct. That's probably why Jester earns more respect with age than he ever did in 1986. But authenticity alone doesn't create a memorable character, especially in a movie filled with larger-than-life personalities. Jester succeeds as an instructor. He just never becomes someone audiences emotionally invest in. Not because he's poorly written, but because every character above him leaves a stronger emotional impact. Compared with everyone else on this list, Jester leaves the smallest emotional impression. That's why Jester finishes at number 8. But if Jester lacked emotional impact, our next character barely had enough screen time to leave one at all. Or did he? Before Maverick ever stepped into Top Gun, another pilot was living the life he wanted. Then one mission quietly changes the entire story. It's also one of those moments that becomes much more important on a second viewing. Cougar. Before Maverick ever enters Top Gun, Cougar is already considered one of the Navy's finest pilots. Before everything fell apart, Cougar was exactly the kind of pilot every squadron wanted beside them. Then one terrifying moment changes everything. During the opening encounter with enemy aircraft, Cougar freezes. Not because he lacks skill, because for the first time, he genuinely believes he's about to die. When he safely lands back on the carrier, the physical danger is over, but mentally, he's finished. Soon afterward, Cougar chooses to leave naval aviation altogether. For some viewers, that moment feels surprisingly small. For others, it's one of the film's most realistic scenes. Because not every battle leaves visible scars. Sometimes the hardest fight happens after the mission ends. Cougar's departure creates the opportunity that changes Maverick's life forever. Without Cougar stepping away, Maverick never receives his chance to attend Top Gun. One decision. One pilot. One completely different future. Narratively, Cougar is essential. Emotionally, not quite. The audience simply doesn't spend enough time with him. There's very little opportunity to understand who he was before the crisis, or what happened after it. That's why Cougar becomes more of a story catalyst than a fully developed character. His purpose is incredibly important. But compared with everyone else still ahead, he simply isn't memorable enough. That's why Cougar finishes at number 7. So far, we've talked about 2 characters who shaped the story. Now it's time for the characters who shaped the audience. From this point on, every ranking becomes more personal. And our next pick has been dividing Top Gun fans for decades. No character in Top Gun divides opinion quite like Charlie. But the debate usually focuses on the wrong question. The real issue isn't Charlie. It's how the screenplay uses her. Some fans think she's underrated. Others think the movie never knew what to do with her. The truth falls somewhere in the middle. She's intelligent, confident, and unlike most movie love interests from the 1980s, she never exists simply to admire the hero. From the moment she walks into the classroom, she immediately challenges Maverick, not with authority, with knowledge. She knows more about enemy aircraft than almost anyone in the room, and Maverick knows it. That instantly creates respect between them. Instead of writing Charlie as someone who needs saving, the film presents her as someone Maverick has to impress. That was surprisingly progressive for a blockbuster released in 1986. Kelly McGillis also delivers a calm, believable performance. She doesn't overact. She doesn't compete with Tom Cruise's energy. She grounds it. Then the movie makes a surprising choice. Charlie's biggest problem isn't Kelly McGillis. It's the screenplay. After an excellent introduction, the story slowly shifts its attention away from her. The romance becomes the priority. Meanwhile, Goose changes Maverick emotionally. Viper guides him forward, and Iceman constantly challenges him. Charlie simply isn't given the same influence over the story. In many ways, Charlie feels like she belongs to a different movie, a quieter, more personal movie. Meanwhile, Top Gun keeps accelerating toward aerial combat and emotional tragedy. That disconnect becomes noticeable. Even today, fan discussions about Charlie remain divided. And that's exactly why she remains one of the movie's most debated characters. Some viewers appreciate her intelligence and independence. Others argue she deserved far more development than the script gave her. And that's probably the fairest conclusion. Compared with every other major character, she's simply the one who leaves the smallest emotional footprint. Charlie isn't the weakest because she's poorly acted. She's here because the story simply gives her less to do than almost everyone above her. Sometimes, a character doesn't fail. The screenplay fails the character. That's why Charlie finishes at number 6. But while Charlie slowly faded into the background, the next character barely had to speak at all. To become unforgettable. One quiet conversation changes Maverick more than any dogfight in the movie. It's also one of the most overlooked scenes by casual viewers. That conversation belongs to Viper. At first, he seems like another strict instructor. He never raises his voice, he never needs to. The moment Viper walks into the room, everyone pays attention. But unlike Jester, Viper sees something deeper inside Maverick. He recognizes the talent. He also recognizes the flaws. Most importantly, he understands where those flaws come from. Then comes the conversation that quietly changes the entire movie. After Goose's death, Maverick is completely broken. His confidence disappears. For the first time in the movie, he doubts himself. That's when Viper tells him the truth about his father. Not to make him feel better, but to help him stop carrying a burden that was never his. That single conversation completely changes Maverick's emotional direction. Without it, there's a good chance Maverick never returns to the cockpit. Think about that. One quiet office scene changes the ending of the entire movie. That's powerful writing. Viper also represents something rare: leadership without ego. He never humiliates his students. He teaches them, corrects them, then trusts them. Many fans today consider Viper one of the most underrated characters in Top Gun. And once you notice his influence, it's almost impossible to unsee it. Not because he has the coolest scenes, but because he represents the kind of leader everyone hopes to have. His screen time is limited. His impact isn't. Few characters shape Maverick more than Viper. That's why Viper finishes at number 4. If Viper represents wisdom, the next pilot represents something completely different: confidence, style, and pure charisma. Hollywood rarely appears in best character discussions, but watch how often he strengthens the people around him. Once you start noticing it, it's surprisingly hard to ignore. Hollywood belongs in that second group. That's exactly why Hollywood still works today. He brings life to the squadron. Almost every military movie needs characters who make the world feel real. Not every pilot can carry emotional trauma. Not every pilot needs a dramatic backstory. Sometimes, you just need someone who feels like the guy everyone enjoys being around. That's Hollywood. He's confident, competitive, always smiling, and somehow, always fun to watch. He helps create the feeling that these pilots aren't just co-workers, they're friends. That chemistry matters. Without characters like Hollywood, Top Gun would have felt cold, too serious, too focused on flying. Instead, the squadron feels like a real community. Even though Hollywood doesn't dominate the story, he strengthens almost every scene he appears in. He's the kind of supporting character audiences remember, without always realizing why. And that's exactly what good supporting characters do. They make everyone around them better. Not every memorable character needs a dramatic speech. Sometimes, a smile, joke, or a few seconds of screen time is enough. He's more memorable than the characters below him, but not as emotionally important as the ones still ahead. That's why Hollywood finishes at number 5. We've ranked the characters who helped build Top Gun. Now we reach the 3 who became its soul. And the next one still breaks fans' hearts nearly 40 years later. Even if you've seen Top Gun 10 times, you already know exactly what's coming. And it still hurts. What's surprising isn't that Goose dies, and deciding who deserves the top 3 is where this ranking becomes genuinely difficult. Some characters are remembered because they're powerful, others because they're unforgettable. Goose is both. From the moment he appears, he changes the energy of every scene. He's funny, relaxed, confident without being arrogant. While Maverick is always chasing the next challenge, Goose keeps him grounded. That's what makes their friendship feel so real. They don't just fly together, they trust each other. That chemistry wasn't accidental. Anthony Edwards brought a warmth to Goose that balanced Tom Cruise's intensity. Even today, countless fans still call Goose their favorite character, with many saying he was the emotional heart of the entire film. And honestly, it's hard to argue. Think about the bar scene, or the piano, or the small conversations before missions. None of those scenes involve a dogfight. None involve explosions. Yet they're some of the most remembered moments in the entire movie. None of those moments move the plot forward, but they make you care. That's the difference between a good supporting character and a great one. Then, without warning, everything changes. And from this point on, Top Gun is no longer the same movie. Goose's death isn't shocking because it happens during a dangerous mission. It's shocking because it happens to the one character who deserved it the least. The movie suddenly feels different. The jokes disappear. The confidence disappears. Even Maverick doesn't feel like Maverick anymore. For the first time, the fearless pilot doesn't know who he is anymore. That's why Goose's impact goes far beyond his screen time. His death doesn't just affect the audience, it transforms the hero. Many viewers still admit Goose's death is the hardest scene to watch, even after multiple rewatches. Others say Anthony Edwards' performance humanized the entire movie. That's an incredible achievement. One character, less than half the movie. Nearly 40 years later, people still miss him. Very few characters leave that kind of legacy, because Goose wasn't just Maverick's best friend. For many viewers, he became the heart of the entire movie. That's exactly why losing him still hurts. Even after all these years. That's why Goose finishes at number 3. And from this point on, Top Gun stops being an action movie. It becomes something much more personal. Goose gave Maverick his heart. But the next character gave him something far more difficult: respect. Iceman may be the character whose reputation has changed the most over the last 4 decades. That's why his ranking surprises so many first-time rewatchers. Today, many fans see Iceman very differently. Back then, most audiences saw him as the villain, the guy standing in Maverick's way, the arrogant rival, the cold perfectionist. But here's the fascinating part. The movie never actually treats Iceman like a villain. Watch his scenes carefully. Something surprising starts happening. He never sabotages Maverick. He never lies. He never cheats. He simply expects Maverick to become the pilot everyone else depends on. What does he want? Professionalism. Every criticism Iceman makes has the same message. Flying isn't about showing off. It's about bringing everyone home alive. And the uncomfortable truth is, he's usually right. That's the moment many fans completely change sides. Maverick breaks formation, ignores instructions, takes unnecessary risks. Iceman calls him out. Not because he hates him, because he doesn't want someone else's mistake to cost lives. That's why fan opinion has changed so dramatically over the years. Today, many longtime viewers openly argue that Iceman was the true professional from the beginning. Some even say they understood him far more as adults than they ever did as teenagers. Val Kilmer deserves enormous credit for that. With very little dialogue, he created one of the most memorable rivals in movie history. The stare, the confidence, the discipline. Everything feels controlled. Nothing feels forced. Then comes the moment that changes their rivalry forever. After the final mission, Iceman doesn't celebrate his own success. Instead, he walks over to Maverick, looks him in the eye, and says, "You can be my wingman anytime." It's one of the most satisfying payoffs in the entire movie. The rivalry ends. Respect begins. Interestingly, when fans discuss Top Gun today, it's common to find people proudly calling themselves Team Iceman, praising him as the pilot who had the right mindset all along. His legacy has only grown stronger with time. Today, many fans even rank him above Maverick. Even so, one character still edges him out. That's why Iceman finishes at number 2. So, if Goose gave the movie its heart, and Iceman gave it its discipline, only one character remains. But is he really the best? After every debate, every friendship, every rivalry, only one question remains. Did Maverick really earn the number 1 spot? Let's find out. Maverick didn't earn this position because he was the coolest pilot. He earned it because he changed the most. His character arc, his emotional journey, and decades of audience discussion, taken together, they all point to the same conclusion, but not for the reason most viewers remember first. It's easy to remember Maverick for the sunglasses, the motorcycle, the smile, the confidence. Those are the iconic moments. They're the images that sold posters and inspired generations. In fact, many fans still say Tom Cruise was born to play Maverick, while others describe the film as the movie that made him a global superstar. But that's not why he's number 1. In fact, it's probably the least interesting reason to rank him first. Here's why he finishes at number 1. What separates Maverick from everyone else isn't his confidence, it's his growth. No other character changes more from beginning to end. No other character is challenged by every major relationship in the film. At the beginning, Maverick believes talent is enough. By the end, he understands that talent without responsibility can become dangerous. That's real character growth. He loses his best friend, questions his own abilities, carries guilt, learns humility, and still climbs back into the cockpit when his team needs him most. That's the journey, not becoming a better pilot, becoming a better person. There's another reason Maverick deserves this spot. Without him, none of these other characters work the same way. Goose exists to support him. Iceman challenges him. Charlie understands him. Viper guides him. Every major relationship in the film reveals a different side of Maverick's personality. That's incredibly effective storytelling. And maybe that's why Top Gun still works today. It isn't really a movie about fighter jets. It's a movie about growing up. Maybe that's why Top Gun still works after nearly 40 years. Not because of the fighter jets, not because of the action, because every great flight needed someone worth flying beside. And that's exactly what these characters gave us. No character carries that journey from beginning to end better than Maverick. That's why Maverick finishes at number 1. Not because he's perfect, because he's the only character who truly earns who he becomes. So, who deserves the last place? Not because they were badly acted, not because they were unlikable, but because the script gave them the least opportunity to matter. For me, that character is Charlie. Not because Kelly McGillis gave a poor performance, but because the screenplay never allowed her to reach the same emotional depth as the others. That's an important difference. She isn't the worst because she's a bad character. She's the lowest ranked because the screenplay gives her the least opportunity to matter. And perhaps the biggest surprise isn't that Maverick finishes first. It's how close Iceman comes to taking that spot. 40 years ago, most viewers would have laughed at that idea. Today, many completely agree. That's how great movies evolve. They don't change. We do. So in the end, this wasn't just about choosing the best character. It was about understanding why every character ended up exactly where they did. And that's what makes Top Gun one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. Now I want to test something. Pause the video for 10 seconds. Rank all 8 characters yourself. Then compare your list with mine. I'm genuinely curious. Do you still rank Maverick at number 1? Or has Iceman finally earned that spot? Tell me your full ranking below. And if your number 1 isn't Maverick, tell me in the comments who earned it instead. Top Gun debates have lasted for nearly 40 years. Let's see if this one lasts a little longer. And if you enjoyed this evidence-based ranking, subscribe for more deep dives into the movies that shaped an entire generation. And remember, sometimes the greatest victory isn't proving you're the best. It's learning why the best pilots never stop learning.